All right, welcome to Mazuma. I'm Ben, here to discuss business travel. You know, it's summertime, everyone's thinking outdoors, get away from work for a little bit, and how do I realize some of the benefits of being a business owner during this nice summertime, right? How do I write off some of these trips that I'm going to take, these vacations that I'm going to take? Is there any benefit I can get from those from a tax perspective? Now, there's just a little bit of a switch. The answer is yes, you can get the benefit. There's a little switch that has to change in your mind, thinking not how do I write off my vacation, but instead, how do I tack on some vacation to this business trip, right? How do I make this business trip include some vacation? Because one of the key elements of being allowed to write off a trip is that its primary purpose is to be business, okay? That can get gray, and it does all the time, but here's some guidance that we're going to give you, some examples we're going to give you that will allow you to navigate this bit of the tax code. It's not terribly complicated, but it will allow you to get through it, take your trip, write it off, write as much of it off as you can, and get the tax benefits and the benefits of being a small business owner. All right? So I just mentioned the first principle that needs to be in place when you are writing off travel. Okay? The first primary purpose of the trip needs to be business. All right? So there needs to be a business purpose. That's usually not too hard to find if you start thinking about it. Just think about these four things, okay? Conventions or seminars for educational purposes. Clients or customers. Do you have any clients or customers at your destination? Vendors, people that you do business with, people you buy things from, people who provide you with services, okay? Or the fourth one can get a little bit shady or gray, but it's definitely a valid one, and that is research. Okay, so our four business purposes that usually qualify are conventions and seminars, clients or customers, vendors, or research. All right, so a lot of times it's not too difficult to come up with one of those things at the location that you're planning on going. Okay? So now with that business purpose, when you go on this trip, the IRS requires that a majority of days are spent doing business. Okay? And there's a couple little loopholes, I guess we can call them here, that make this easier to achieve, all right? First, the days you spend traveling count as business days, all right? And then the days that you spend meeting with clients, vendors, attending the seminar, doing the research, those days count as business, obviously. And the weekends count as business, okay? So I'm just going to put, remember, travel days count and weekends count. And in our scenarios, we'll see how that really factors in, okay? So item number 2, the majority of the days need to be spent doing business. All right? Component number 3, planning. It's important to justify, in the eyes of the IRS or anybody who's scrutinizing this trip, to show that this was a big enough business deal that I planned for it. Okay, I put it on my calendar. It was planned out ahead of time. I had maybe appointments set. I bought the tickets to this convention a long time ago. This was a planned, foreseen business trip. Okay, and the purpose, therefore, the primary purpose of it is for business. Okay, that's a simple one. Next one is in order to justify the write-off of your trip is to keep proper documentation. Now, what exactly needs to be documented? One of the rules of thumb, the guidance that's been provided out there is that you keep receipts or invoices or anything that you pay for items over $75. Okay, so any one-time purchase over $75 while you're traveling for business, keep the receipt. Second, any lodging expenses, even if it's less than $75 a night at a Motel 6 or something, or wherever you decide to stay, any lodging expenses need documentation support in the eyes of the IRS under audit. That's if you get audited, right? But you need to have that in order to justify those expenses. So receipts for items over 75, receipts for lodging expenses. Then the third component of documentation would be notes that you take while you're there, researching, being educated at a seminar, meeting with clients, notes that you take to prove that business was conducted while you were there. You didn't just buy the seminar tickets and then skip the seminar and go surfing all day, right? So these notes or these minutes that you take, or maybe materials that you take away from the seminar, that type of documentation will also prove and further support your ability to write off this trip. Okay? Next, the expenses that you deduct need to be reasonable. Okay? What are the general expenses that you are able to deduct? Transportation, flights, driving, any costs that you incur to get from point A to point B are deductible. Accommodations, I mentioned lodging, so any costs that you incur to stay the night and to have housing while you're there. Okay? Third, meals. Used to be meals and entertainment, but now it's just meals, right? New tax code starting in 2018 eliminated entertainment. So now just meals while you're there traveling are deductible. Okay? So those are the three primary things. Now there's other little auxiliary things, maybe dry cleaning while you're there, paying for internet services on the plane or at the hotel or things like that. Little incidentals, little things that you have to pick up and purchase along the way to accomplish the business purpose and to get along while you're there will be deductible, assuming that they're serving the business purpose. Okay, but the big ones are usually the transportation costs, the accommodations, and the meals. All right, and at this point, we usually start wondering about the transport, the accommodation, and meal expenses for family that comes along. And it's pretty clear that in 98% of the cases, family expenses are not deductible. All right, now, if you buy a hotel, pay for a hotel room while you're there, and your family happens to stay in it with you, is that still a write-off? Absolutely. You needed a hotel while you were there. If you drive your van from point A to point B and pay for it, and your family comes along in the van with you, are you still able to deduct, write off the gas or the mileage associated with driving? Yes. You still would have had to drive whether your family was in the car or not. However, flights, that's kind of where it becomes a no-no. You can't go to a seminar in Hawaii and pay for your whole family's flights to get, for all of them to get there, when really you're the only one attending the seminar for business, okay? So it's your expenses that are deductible. Okay, so that covers kind of the 5 main points that you need to be aware of to justify your trip, your business trip, as an expense, as a write-off. So where does the vacation come in, right? Where does the extra benefit from this trip come in? I'm going to illustrate that by giving you a few examples, okay? The first example is the Seattle trip that me and my colleagues took a while back last year. We took a trip to Seattle, and we had planned, I'm just going to write this for reference. We had planned to go to Seattle and be a vendor at the Business Expo. Okay, so we had the expo on a Friday. I happened to be, my brother-in-law, who lives outside of Seattle, happens to be a client of ours, so we have clients in that area. We set up an appointment with that client on Monday. All right, so we've got the show on Friday. We've got an appointment on Monday. In between there, we have the weekend. And then we have travel days on either side. So we travel out there Thursday. We go to the show on Friday. We have the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday we have a meeting with the client. And then we travel home, right? So that's 6 days of business, 6 days of business purpose while we're in Seattle. So the majority of the days have to be business. We've got 6 days of business, so that means 4 or 5 days we can do whatever we want and still get to deduct the transportation costs, the lodging that we incurred during those 6 days, the meals that we consumed during those 6 days, and we happen to do some entertainment. We went skydiving, right, on one of those days. So on one of those business days. So the whole trip, on all the expenses associated with those 6 days, are a write-off. Okay. Now we have an extra 4 or 5 days that we can hang out. We can go tour the Space Needle. We can go to the Pike's Place Market. We can do other things. Spend our time enjoying a vacation time. We won't be writing off those expenses, but the big expenses, the flights, the lodging while we're there, the big expenses are still a write-off. So that's an example for you of how you can tack on some vacation, all right, and still get to deduct all of the costs associated with getting there, and that's usually a big piece of the cost. Now, we've got some clients who wanted us to address their situation, right? So here's a couple more scenarios. We've got the food blogger trip. All right, so let's say you're a food blogger. And you're looking for some inspiration or some new recipes, or depending on what your blog is, right? But maybe you want to go do a showcase on Indian food or something like that. So you find a destination, you start planning this trip because you need some posts, you need some material to put out there about Indian food, all right? So you start researching and finding what area of the country has good Indian food. And you pick out 3 or 4 restaurants that you want to go to and have the experience there in their restaurant, document the whole thing, take pictures, and come back with a great post about these meals that you experienced while you were out there. Okay, so your travel while you head out to these locations, definitely deductible. And if you drive, your family can come along with you, right? The lodging that you post up in along the way, definitely deductible. And then all of the meals that you consume. Now, your family's meals, as they're eating along the way, shouldn't be deducted, but your portion can. And again, so the travel cost, the transportation, and the lodging costs are really the big ticket items that you want to deduct and that really give you the biggest benefit. So you can see how family coming along and getting to experience the trip is a great vacation. It could be a great vacation for the whole family. So if you go and do go restaurant hopping and for 3-4 days and you're traveling 2 more, then you've got a few other days to spend doing whatever you want while you're out there traveling the country. Okay, so that's a good example of how a blogger can maybe find some additional deductions. Next one we've got is a photographer. Okay, so the photographer heads out. They've got a seminar, an education seminar that they want to go to in Houston. Okay, their parents happen to live in Houston or near Houston also. So, photographer puts the seminar on the schedule, is planning on this for weeks or months ahead of time. They drive to Houston. Takes them 2 days to get to Houston. All right, they're getting 50 cents a mile, or they're deducting all of the gas expenses along the way. And they are putting the hotel cost on the business card. They're paying for all of that with the transportation cost with their business card and deducting it. Yes, their family, spouse and 3 kids are with them in the car, and while photographer is off at the seminar for 3 days, spouse and kids are hanging out with mom and dad, grandma and grandpa for those 3 days. We've got 2 days of travel to get there, 3 days while photographer's at the seminar, 2 more days to get back. That's 7 days of business time. So when the photographer's done with the seminar, they can go hang out with mom and dad for 5-6 more days, still get to ride off that whole trip. Okay? So hopefully this is starting to settle in, and you're starting to see, okay, the business purpose is kind of the most important key to getting to write this off, but it doesn't mean I can't have these extra benefits associated with this trip. And being able to write off the lodging and the transportation costs is often the biggest, where you're saving the most, because that basically is like a 30% discount on all of those expenses that you incur. A lot better than going on those trips without getting to write them off, right? Last example is the consultant. We have a consultant who, and really this really applies for maybe insurance agents or anyone like that who might have clients out of state or a long ways away, right? The consultant's son and their family live in Chicago, and so consultant also happens to have a client in Illinois, in the Chicago area. So the consultant says, hey, I want to go visit my son in Chicago. How can I make that a write-off? And I said, wait a minute, let's flip that just a little bit. Let's say, hey, I have a client in Illinois. Can I visit my son while I'm there? And the answer is absolutely. That's great. So you set up an appointment, you plan it out, you have a business purpose of visiting your client, right, and meeting with them on things. Let's say that meeting is going to happen on Friday. You plan the appointment for Friday. You travel out there on Thursday. have the appointment on Friday. You've got, so there's 2 days, 2 more days on the weekend, Mondays, and then you got 1 more travel day to get home. So that's 5 business days. Leveraging the weekends and travel days really enable you to take advantage of this. You got 5 business days out there. That allows you 4 days to go hang out with your son and their kids and enjoy that time without losing the deduction associated with transportation getting out there. Yeah, in this case, he happened to be staying with his son. Okay, so pretty much the main deduction that he got was the flight out there, but hey, that's what it's all about. Running as many expenses through the business as possible to save those taxes. Okay? So I hope these 5 points stick a little bit, and that you realize now that this isn't super complicated. Developing that business purpose is the key, and then if you've got that, everything else can fall into place. Hope you enjoyed our webinar today. Have a great summer, and we'll see you next time.